Di-Gata defender, honey.
In-A-Gata defenders, baby. Don't you know that a hoe is be true?
Bam, 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 bam.
In-A-Gata defenders, honey. Don't you know that a hoe is be true? Oh, won't you come with me? And listen to episode 57 of the Lasercomb Podcast, the show where we comb through random episodes of classic television with a fine tooth laser. I am the Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm NeoCal, your other host. Dan, 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 dan. We're not a music review podcast. We just find the title of what we're reviewing today comically
Reminiscent.
fits a certain song.
Reminiscent of a classic song that I just discovered today is from 1968. I'm like, holy shit, I thought it was. I knew it was old. I didn't know it was that old. Wow. So this week on the Lasercomb podcast, we are doing another Patreon pick, and this
That's right.
time it is from longtime patron and listener, GameSpriteMode. And what they pitched to us was a little show called Di-Gata Defenders.
That's right.
uh,
So, what is the Di-Gata and what are they defending? Or do we want to back up even further than that?
the nearest I can figure, the Di-Gata is some like magic bullshit, magic dice bullshit that people can throw and can do like literally conjure up literally anything they want.
But I think they have certain elements or certain properties, and they can combine their dice or their
Certain
Pokeballs or whatever they're
certain
kind of like.
airbending qualities, you
Certain
might say.
air bending qualities, certain earth bending qualities, certain creature qualities, and you can combine them with other Daigata defending dice to create new effects or give one of their creatures different powers or abilities or whatnot.
Or give yourself Hulkbuster armor, which is what the villain of this episode basically does.
Hey, that has nothing to do with the 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 dice. He gets a whole bunch he enslaves a town and gets them to make him unobtainium armor. But we'll get into that
So
when we get
we
farther
put
in the episode.
the episode we're reviewing this week of Indagata Defenders is episode 31, The Magnificent Two, which originally aired on October 7th of 2007.
Yeah, just to give you the quick read up on the episode, the defenders, the good guys, seek to recover the Nova Stone, leaving Eric to train Ryan, while Seth and Melosa search. Kid Cole takes over a mine. That fucking name. Kid
Kid
Cole
Cole.
takes it. He's the bad guy.
Kid Cole is my favorite thing about this episode.
Kid Cole takes over a mine to make a set of unbreakable armor and a new guardian, Dark Viper, one of
Doc Viper!
one of Sai's mutant guardians, and a twisted version of Anaconduit. Love that name.
So do
My
I.
and a conduit don't want none unless you got dice, hun.
Every time I heard him say, Kid Cole say, Dark Viper, it just made me think of Fried Ricer.
Fried ricer.
Fried Ricer!
Anyone listening to
Dark
the
Viper!
anyone listening to this that's actually like followed each episode, more likely you just watched uh the Lasercomb podcast cover the episodes you've probably liked. But one show we liked in particular was an
Another
anime
Patreon pick. Um,
Patreon pick was
Fighting Foodons.
Fighting Food Ons. Yeah. And man, what an unexpected treat.
That I think that and Manimal, honestly, are probably the two things that have stuck with me the most that we've covered on this
That
show.
I had never watched or even heard of much before.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was swatting at Predacons flying by. Um,
get
yeah.
out of here, Waspinator. You
And
bother me.
Dark Viper is
Dog Viper.
Guardian. So the Pokemon that they summon are those the Guardians? Yes. So the Guardians are the creatures, and the Defenders are the people that harness these powers.
The defenders of Dynatron City.
Yeah, and a conduit. Eric and Ryan respond to a
I
distress
just made a
call,
very obscure reference.
which I didn't even catch that. What was
The
that?
defenders of Dynatron City. It was a it was supposed to be a TV show. It was a pilot that didn't get picked up, but Fox Kids still aired it, I think in like 92 or 93. And I actually remember watching it.
Oh shit! What was
And
it called?
The Defenders of Dynatron City. And to my delight, I've talked about them before, but my favorite film critics, Bibbs and Whitney, on their show, Canceled Too Soon, where they review
Mm,
TV shows that lasted only one season or less. They actually reviewed The Defenders of Dynatron City once a few years ago. It made me very
nice.
happy. I'm like, wow, someone other than me actually remembers this shit.
Yeah, I had no idea. So what's going on in the Magnificent Two? Brachus's help and a conduit was once his guardian. Yeah, so the guardians are the creatures. Kid Cole's defeated when Dark Viper returns to Brachus. The warlord's missing memories also return.
Ooh. So in the beginning of the episode, Kid Cole shows up, and basically his like cronies that he has with him like beat the shit out of this old man, which I found really funny. And then this kid like shows up who is, I guess, one of the Di-Gata defenders because he has like one of these like magic dice.
Yeah,
He shows up and he's like, basically, I choose you, Pikachu, and throws a die at Kid Cole, and Kid Cole catches it, and everyone's like, gasp. And he just like crushes it with his hand and is like, uh, listen here, boys, you work for me now. And if you don't get back to work, this is what I'm gonna be doing to yous. Your entire town's all gonna be crumbled in my bare hands.
so
Yeah,
now get back to work.
yep.
And it's like, oh, but we just were working. But yeah, but now you're doing it for free and for me. Oh man. So I guess just one kid can take over a town?
I found Kid Cole really funny in this.
Yeah.
Like he's just some kid who's like an absolute like shitlord, basically. And but
Yeah.
then at the end of it, like he ends up becoming this like sniveling like weakling. Like once his Hulkbuster armor gets broken. By the way, he gets defeated by literally being fucking stabbed, like having his shoulder impaled. I'm like, holy shit.
Right?
On this children's television, there's like straight up like a
He
sharp
gets
object like
impaled.
stuck like through his shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah,
gets impaled. And I'm like, wow, impalement's okay in cartoons nowadays?
yeah.
Huh. Because it has a very kid-friendly like vibe, but like
Also a hype theme song, very of its time, but kind of
I
a
was
hype
gonna
theme
say
song.
it's extremely like mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the gist here? At the beginning, there's a defender training like a younger kid.
Yeah,
That's
and that,
the plot that's going on there.
that's the source of a lot of conflict in this episode is like the kid who's being trained by the basically the older kid who is like you got to do if you want to be a Di-Gata defender, you got to do blah blah, and he's like, "Well, y- you're
That's just
stupid."
like your opinion, man.
Yeah. No, you're
And
stupid.
that trope of like the eager young kid. I mean, we have another podcast, Too Much Energon, and we can only take Cheetor's bullshit so much. And yeah, so this kid gives us he says some Cheetor bullshit. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't need like more training. Oh, geez, I want to be a defender now." And that's kind of like the least interesting part of the plot. I could tell there's a lot of characters and a lot of lore on the show, and like it has a very the planet like they have giant bugs, and there's a part that feels like a deserty area, and there's like a jungle-y area, and I'm sure it's very interesting and involved, but for somebody just like jumping into it, I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on. There's a plot here, but I
For someone just jumping into it, in my case, at 38 years old, I'm like, I've watched this twice, by the way. I'm like, uh,
I like the face paint and the character design.
big gulps, huh? Cool. Well, see you later.
Well, that's basically our podcast. It's basically like, oh, what's this? Oh, that's cool. Well, bye. um, because there's like an evil bug guy spying at one point, and I'm like, is that guy bad? I guess so. Bad music was playing.
Yeah, so Kid Cole has like a bunch of people build or mine for this ore, like on titanium, I guess.
And the reason for this,
Mining for dilithium crystals.
mining for dilithium crystals, we find out that it's indestructible um to to their powers or whatever. It's like vibranium
Oh, okay. Yeah.
or something, right? And he's
Something
like,
like
huh,
that, yeah.
no, and he's got this like armor on, and he's like, huh, no, nothing can stop me. And spoilers, they do. They just like knock a chunk of his armor off. But it's so like scrappy and shitty looking, and it doesn't even cover all of his face. I'm like, what are you doing making
Well,
armor
and
when it
they
doesn't even cover all of your
it
body?
doesn't cover all of his face, and then one of them is like I again, I've watched this twice and like I still don't even know why, but one of them is like his shoulder, that's his weak point.
And I'm like,
But
that's not.
why? Like his shoulder is fully armored. His face is half of his face is exposed. Like that's his weak point right there. Why is it his shoulder?
I at some way halfway through, there's an anteater alien. Ooh, and he jumps out of the bushes and he attacks a couple of the characters, and we get to see the dice action in full come to full play. And it looks like you can combine the different like symbols and dice to do different attacks or summon different creatures and or give those creatures different
Right.
abilities and such.
So here is one thing that I don't like about this show, right out of the get-go. Um, the
Dark Viper stabs the dude in the shoulder.
No, that was rad. No, it's the magic can seemingly do anything.
We're not told the rules for how it operates, so it
And
just kind of seems like,
like they can just like conjure like literally anything that they
and it
need.
has something to do with the rocks they throw, the dice they throw, and it has something to do with the symbols.
Right. Maybe there are rules, like maybe they do have
Oh yeah,
limitations on the
there's
magic,
definitely a game.
but like
Maybe we should do journalism and find out what the dice game or the card game, whatever this is trying to sell, how it actually works. But we haven't, as far as I know. Siege hasn't hasn't looked at it.
no, I haven't. But yeah, the at least at first glance and second glance for that matter, because I've watched this show twice now. Um,
Magic dice.
it seems like the magic can conjure like whatever the person throwing the die needs at any given moment, and
But
I'm not a fan of that.
we're assured though in the beginning credits that it's not enough to just have the guardians and to have the dice. You need to like practice and you need to be like pure of will and you need to like learn all of these things. That's what that guy is like showing us. So it's kind of like, hey, you can't just be gobbledygook with it. You gotta uh it's not just like random like you're saying it is.
I'm
Um
not saying it's random. What I'm saying is that
it
they can
seemingly does whatever they want.
they it seems like they can just do
And I'm sure
whatever they
fans of
need
the
with it.
show can like immediately like super fans, like kids that have the toys and everything, can probably recognize some of the combinations and go, aha,
Oh,
this is what
absolutely.
that does.
Yeah.
But not us. It just seems like they go, go, thing that I want.
Yeah.
And
And so
it
that I
works.
don't like. I don't like magic, or I don't like superpowers that can basically do anything. That was the thing, and as much as I love Superman, that was a thing that was a problem with Superman comics for decades, was like writers would just be like, "Oh, Superman's trying to solve this problem. I'm just going to write this like new like random power that he can do that is useful in this exact situation." And it's like, "No, that's too much power.
Too
There
much
needs to be
power.
rules. There needs to be rules. There needs to
So what
be
happens
restrictions,
is there
limitations."
needs to be rules, damn it. So what happens is the defenders summon Lio Convoy, the big badass like um lion with his ears pierced, which I dig,
Yeah, yeah, I
to
dug that
fight
too.
unobtainium armor. Uh we keep changing what the fuck
Hulkbuster.
his armor, his Hulkbuster armor. Kid Cole, damn it. Um adamantium. There we go. Haha, I got the Predacon finally.
Finally.
Mm. I didn't actually eat the bug, don't worry. Or did I? Did um and the lion slashes at
I'm
his chest.
still in a dream, Snake Eater. Do 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 do.
Cue sensual solid snake uh changing music.
Naked Snake.
Naked snake. Um
Emphasis on the naked.
emphasis on the snake. Uh
The naked
so
snake.
the lion
Fully
slashes
exposed.
fully exposed snake. Uh my solid snake can beat your liquid snake. Uh whatever that means. So the
I,
lion,
I call my solid snake Big Boss.
oh,
Jesus.
good for him.
Oh.
Brother. Um,
Did you like my sunglasses? It's all I'm wearing, brother.
Jeez. And so basically, Solidus shows up. We're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Oh yeah, Palpatine at the end there,
Palpatine is there. So what
because
happens is,
he's acting like he's an ally of theirs, but like at the end we find out, and he looks like a bad guy,
well, he
and we
regains
find out
his,
at the
and they
end.
don't trust him. And they're like, but we find out that he regains his memories
Mm,
or something like that in the
yeah,
write up. So
something like
what
that.
ended up happening with Kid Cole and his like adamantium armor is the lion slashes at his chest and he goes ah and grasps his shoulder.
Yeah,
But the thing is, the slash across it doesn't go all the way through and like draw blood or anything. But it's clearly not indestructible if this lion can slash at him and give him pain.
right.
And like you said, after he's slashed on the chest and he goes, ah, and clutches his shoulder, the main defender dude is like, oh, sweet. Attack his shoulder for maximum damage.
Yeah,
And like you said,
you attack his weak point for massive damage.
that's his weak spot. And like you said, but why? I
But why though? Like
But why though? And then as he like resummons the lion, he reconstructs it into his like gauntlet and fires a bunch of like rockets at him. And then he summons Dark Viper, and
he summons Dark Viper, and then Palpatine shows up
Palpatine shows
and is
up
like,
and he's like, remember, remember me, Dark
"Search your
Viper.
feelings. You know it to be true,
Oh,
and a
true
conduit."
master. And the funny thing is, this kind of end sequence is the best bit of it, right? Because I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? This guy does not look like a good guy,
Yeah,
but he's helping the good guys.
yeah.
So, and Dark Conduit is like, "Ugh, Dark Viper, remember." It reminds me of again a certain Tankor vibe going on.
We've
Um,
talked about this trope before on our other podcast, Too Much Energon, but where it's like a character is afflicted with something, and that's like altering their mind and
it
altering
makes
their
them evil.
behavior. And someone is just like, "You have to fight against it. Just remember who you are."
And they go and just through hulking out alone, they're
Yeah.
able
I
to.
I don't know how long I can control this, but and they start fighting the bad guys.
What a fucking trope. And
It
indeed,
is. Yeah.
it starts fighting the bad guys' goons, and it turns on Kid Cole, and they yell out, "Go for his shoulder! That's his weak spot!" And again, I'm like, that's
But
not
why?
where he's not missing armor there, by the way,
Yeah.
listeners. It looks just like his other armor.
That's why I was confused.
And I'm like, why not the face?
Yeah.
Because he's half of his face isn't covered.
Yeah, it's like you could fucking blow this kid's brains out easily.
But specifically why the shoulder? And again, not to criticize too heavy our patrons like choice, but this is very like, hey kids, this is storytelling. Remember when we showed him clutch his shoulder? The good guys are so observant that they noticed that that's where some pain must have gone through, so that's his weak spot. But it's condescending because it doesn't tell you why.
Right.
Like, why? And much like a kid's video game or a kid's show, it just goes, well, everything has a weakness. If you were to put on special goggles and scan for weaknesses, that part would light up red.
And
Like
here we
VATS
have
comes on and you're like, interesting. He's not wearing armor on this part of his body, but it makes less sense in this. And
we're going for historical accuracy. And here we have a giant enemy crab.
And here's a giant enemy crab, and Dark Viper goes, Dark Viper! And slashes at his armor, knocking the right shoulder pad off, showing the ripped cloth underneath. And Kid Cole turns and he goes, oh no, my armor!
And then Palpatine does his whole "search your feelings, you know it to be true" bit with Dark Viper / Anaconduit.
And Dark Viper is like, oh, whatever you say, and fucking impales the.
Straight up impales this
Apparently,
kid's
Dark
fucking
Viper
shoulder.
only impales shoulders because it's the same place the good guy was impaled earlier.
Oh, wait, what?
2 people were impaled in this episode.
Again, folks, I've watched this twice.
I watched it once.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, good guy was impaled at one point earlier. If you're watching the YouTubes, if you go to about 11:30, he's impaled through the shoulder.
I don't have it up in front of me.
And it's like paralyzing him or something.
Oh.
And he's like, this is Dark Viper's power. Get fucked.
Well, there you go. Then that's just an element of the episode coming full circle.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Well.
So 2 people are impaled. One was impaled in his left shoulder, and one was impaled on his right shoulder. And then
the bad Viper, the bad guy ordered Dark Viper to impale one of the good guys, and then in the end, he got impaled by Dark Viper
by
himself.
his own hubris.
By his own hubris. There we go.
Hey, you play with Dark Viper, you get the shoulder stabbed.
It, you play with Dark Viper, you're gonna get anaconduited.
And then yeah, bad guy goes, my only weakness, being stabbed in the shoulder by Dark Viper. And he falls off a cliff or something.
Yeah, he gets impaled, and then he fucking falls off of a cliff, and then you actually hear him hit the ground if you listen.
Ow.
Thud. I was
I'll
like,
get you, Di-Gata defenders.
this show's actually kind of brutal in some ways.
Oh, and it doesn't like show him like limping away. As far as I know, he fucking dead.
Yeah, he got impaled in the shoulder and fucking
got
fell to his death.
Two people impaled. We got people falling to their death. We got Emperor Palpatine. We got Dark Viper. It has everything.
Including airbending.
And Pokemon.
Oh, yeah, right. I choose you.
Yeah.
Throwing the magic die.
Yeah.
I'm confused about the technology of this world because some of the technology seems very advanced, but like the architecture is very like at least like 300 years ago.
So it makes the like old meets new trope, right? Like long ago, there was a great civilization and the civilization fell because the village that they're training in is very Magitech-y. What I
Mm.
mean by that is like there's floating stones with runes carved into them. But then the buildings are made out of stone, right? But then they get on hover bikes. Two of the characters when they're going through the woods. They get on like sci-fi hover bikes.
Yeah,
So it's very much that tribal futurism
anyone who's played
vibe.
a number of Final Fantasy games over the years would be familiar with this concept.
Yeah. The future is the past kind of thing. But yeah, as far as the tech goes for the dice, the creatures that they're the guardians, they seem intelligent creatures,
Mm.
right? That you can like I don't think they're like Pokemon, like they're enslaved, but it's insinuating that Dark Viper um, is, hey, I'm saying it. Pokemon, you capture them against their will. They fight you, trying not to be captured, and then you force them to fight each other.
Yeah.
Not cool. But yeah, there seems to be some agreement, at least going on here between the between the
between
Guardian
Dark Viper
defenders, guardians, yes, guardians and their wielders, their Di-Gatas, their defenders,
owners. Like, at one
owners.
point, like Kid Cole even says that he like bought and paid for Dark Viper,
Yeah,
and
you
that's
can just
why.
buy these from the dark web,
Like he,
the black market. Like where,
you could just go to your local comic book store and buy these things.
and buys at a corner store near you, at a comic book shop near you.
Yeah.
And at the very end, they're like, "Well, we trust you, Emperor Palpatine, because you gave us some information and you talked Dark Viper and a conduit down."
I think he's still just Senator Palpatine at this
Oh,
point.
is he Senator Palpatine at this point? Yeah.
Yeah.
And and they're like, "Well, have some dice," and he's like, "Oh, thank you. Since you're good now." And as they walk away, he goes, "My machinations lay undetected for now."
Unlimited power.
Um, the second time through and talking it out with you, I enjoyed it more. But when I first watched this, I was like, kind of a big oof. And you had just watched this. You've watched this twice, and
I have. I'm still kind of big oofing
you
it.
barely know. You can. You're like, I don't know what's going on, man. People were stabbed twice. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still.
It's funny that Dark Viper's only move seems to be putting what's it called, a barb. It has a detachable like barb, a stinger, into shoulders. Very limited power set, but an effective one for sure.
Also, Anaconduit goes from being Anaconduit to Dark Viper, whereas an anaconda and a viper are two different types of snakes.
Yeah, one is a python, and one is a viper.
Yeah. I just that
One is a constrictor that's not poisonous,
yeah.
and the other one is like a bite and venom, a venomous snake. There we go.
Yeah, yeah.
And pythons aren't usually venomous. Good catch.
Yeah, it was just something that like stuck out in my head. Not the first time, but the second time I watched it, I'm like, "Oh, wait. Huh. T- uh, Not only apparently like going from being good question mark to bad
Well, everyone knows
apparently also changes
poison.
his species.
Remember, the poison is a bad guy element, right? Like
Right.
Team Rocket and Pokemon had Ekans and Coffee.
Or Poison
Coffee?
Ivy in Batman
Coughing.
and Robin.
Uh,
Even says
that's
she's
right.
poison.
It says she's poison. Poison's a bad guy trait. Everyone
Yeah.
knows that. Good guys use like fire and ice and stuff like that, and bad guys use poison.
Yeah,
Somewhere
element.
along the line in cartoons, people decided that like villains had poisonous element.
Oh, even if like I mentioned Final Fantasy a few minutes ago, even if you think about Final Fantasy, like typically your characters use like elemental magic and like poison magic is like is usually an enemy trait.
Yeah,
I never even thought of that before.
I think
I think
a
we might
lot
be
of
onto something
a
here.
lot of the times on particularly on this podcast, the Lasercomb podcast, we start to see the workings of a greater like media and the tropes and the ideas behind them. And yeah, right now I just had the like shower thought moment. Well, wait a second. Bad guys use poison. Hmm. So in Anaconduit,
And bad guys in spy movies, when they get captured, usually commit suicide by cyanide poisoning.
whereas good guys just withstand the torture
Yeah.
and escape somehow.
They mash the
They
circle
mash the
button.
circle button so fast that your knuckles. We've already talked about Metal Gear at this point. We've talked about that frickin' circle thing and how difficult it was for kids. And
I
the
had to
only
use a
way,
lighter as a teenager to
right, you
just
had like a
like
lighter technique to go
yeah,
back and
to
forth.
just like
My friends and I took turns. See, you did a smarter thing, and we used our knuckles. And if you drag four knuckles across it, you're pressing it four times with each like stroke, right? So we go and like by the way, it works really well, but yeah, we had Metal Gear Solid torture like calluses in the middle like knuckles, and then we like pass it to the next kid on the next part, and your knuckles heat up as we're like doing it, and it's like haha, we did it.
I replayed through MGS1 I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago now at this point. And I got to that point and I tried to do the lighter trick again and like I still failed. So immediately I was
It's
just like,
so fucking
I
hard, man.
just immediately I was like I'm in my 30s now, like I don't have the patience for this. I'm just submitting. Fuck Meryl, she can die. I'll get the stealth camo from Otacon out of it. I don't care.
How dare you? I thought you were gonna say fuck it, I'm doing Cal's technique. Or I thought you were gonna say, "Fuck it, I'm using like a third-party controller," and you press the turbo button and you just hold circle.
Actually, if you remember correctly, Revolver Ocelot is like, don't even think of using auto fire, or I'll know.
Oh shit, does he?
I don't know. I've never actually tested that, and now I kind of want to.
Hmm.
Someone on Reddit absolutely has put this to the test and posted about
Got
it.
to. It's a Reddit Google search away, surely.
Right.
But yeah, that
So
was
what?
Di-Gata Defenders.
So what's kind of interesting about this show that I just discovered before we started, right before we started recording, was that this show was a Teletoon original. So this is a super Canadian production.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that either until we started Googling some info, some journalism about the
Right.
show. Teletoon OG. Anybody listening who's like, I doubt that you wouldn't know what it is, but just in case you don't,
Well, if you're not
um,
Canadian, you
yeah,
probably wouldn't know.
yeah.
We have lots of
Um,
American listeners.
it
In
is
fact, it's most
a
of them.
yeah, yeah. It is a like a cartoon uh channel, a network that's launched in October 17th, 1997.
Hmm.
And it was originally owned by a consortium made up of various other 1990s Canadian specialty services and producers.
I remember when Teletoon first launched. Actually, it launched. So prior to this, in Canada, we had like I think it was like 25 channels or something like that, or at least in like where I lived in like
Right.
Nanaimo, British Columbia, Western Canada. We had like 25 or 26 channels, something like that. It
Like
was less
base
than
cable
yeah,
channels. Yeah.
yeah, it was less than 30 channels, and that was with having cable. Over the air stuff was like you had like three.
Yeah.
So at this point in 1997, they there was this big like push where they launched, I think, like another like 20 or 25 channels, but it
Yeah. You said a
included
bunch came out all at once.
yeah, it was all at once on the same day. It so you got things like Teletoon, you got Showcase, you got which that was a there's a lot I can say about Showcase. Watching
Yeah.
Showcase in the late '90s as a kid, as a young adolescent, they showed a lot of
What else?
they showed a lot of uh, uh, foreign films with lots of nudity
Oh, yeah.
late at night, and
What a joy.
what a joy! What a joy when you're a 13-year-old boy. Um,
I think Space was Space
Space.
one of
Yep,
them.
yep. Space was one of them. I I don't even remember what all of
We're
them were.
trying to pull all these from our head.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
the a slew of new
Yeah,
channels, new
it was
media.
very like I would have been 12 years old at the time. It was very exciting
Yeah.
as someone who like really liked television and movies.
Hell yeah. Wonder if I can find what that like telecommunications like what all of them were called. Anyways, yeah, Teletoon was one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Uh,
just found out now that YTV owned 26.7% of um Teletoon. So that's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But and like it's not exactly like Teletoon didn't exactly compete with YTV necessarily because YTV was like it's a Canadian channel still going. It's a Canadian channel that's whose programming was dedicated to children of varying ages. But Teletoon was at least in the beginning anyway. I don't know if it still is at this point. Was dedicated entirely to animated programming
Yeah.
and not just for children.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
there was a programming block called Teletoon at Night that focused more on adult animation, things like Duckman and whatnot.
Fucking Duckman. A spicy city. Remember that shit?
No, I never actually watched Duckman. I just saw commercials for it.
My
Uh,
brother loved Duckman.
Part of Teletoon at Night was also Captain Star, which is a show that I am super nostalgic for.
Fuck, right.
That very few people have even heard of. Like even people our age, when I bring up Captain Star, they're like, "Oh, I don't know." Which was
Hell yeah.
it was this great like
The
Brit.
humor's not for everyone, but once they see it, they go, "Oh." I think The Head was Teletoon at night.
Yes, and I think they showed the Max, which
The
was
Max. And I
an
don't
MTV
miss
show. They showed the HBO Spawn series, which we should really cover on this podcast at some
The
point.
Max was Teletoon at night. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, maybe I'm thinking of MTV where The Head was. Yeah. But definitely The Max.
yeah, we should cover the HBO Spawn cartoon
Yeah.
at some point. I wanted to last year, and it didn't end up happening. But I wanted to last year do a like a monthly like block of just cartoons based on Image Comics properties for the because last year 2022 was the 30th anniversary of the launch of Image Comics. I still want to do that block at some point. So like Spawn, the Max, uh, Wildcats,
Hell yeah.
and I know there were Savage Dragon. There we go, Savage Dragon.
Yeah, the only one I don't know from that is Savage Dragon.
Yeah, it wasn't a great cartoon, but it was kind of weird because like the Savage Dragon comic is like super R rated, but like the cartoon was like very much like an ABC like Saturday morning like kids like cartoon. So didn't last very long.
So Teletoon at Night launched in September 2002 as The Detour on Teletoon. The block is an amalgamation of it and Teletoon Unleashed, an adult programming block.
Hmm.
In September 2009, the block was relaunched under its current name with an overhaul of its appearance. And in March 2019, with the pending launch of the Adult Swim channel, it was announced that the block Teletoon at Night would be discontinued.
Boo.
How dare.
Downvote. Angry
How do I
face
downvote
react.
Wikipedia?
Another thing Teletoon used to do in the late 90s, specifically in like 98, 99, was they would have anime weekends where they would show blocks of like I think on like Friday and Saturday night they would show back-to-back anime films, and that was actually kind of how I discovered anime and like started getting into it. That's how I discovered Ghost in the Shell. That's how I discovered Ninja Scroll, Pat Labor, um, Princess Mononoke, and like
Okay.
just older like classic like anime films like that.
I missed that. I didn't get into anime from that. I didn't get into anime until I just randomly this is this is weird. I didn't get into it from TV show or a friend lending me something. I got into it from randomly buying cheap ass DVDs from Blockbuster,
Right.
like in the used, like on sale, like bin.
Yeah, you talked about this on the second episode of our Patreon exclusive show, the Super Lasercomb Patreon Super Show.
Yeah, and that's a weird intro into it, but I was just like, oh, this looks rad. Oh, 4.99. Oh, cool. Volume 2, episodes 5 through 8.
Because
Sweet.
that was some anime on DVD bullshit in the 2000s right there. And
Right?
I know I've talked about it before. I talked about it with when we covered Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
How expensive getting volumes of
And
that.
like yeah, they wouldn't release like an entire season on DVD. They would release for like, you know, like $60. They would release like one DVD, volume 1 that would have like the first would have like blocks of 4 episodes on them for like $30 each. Yeah. That that
Wild.
that was watching anime in the 2000s, people.
So let's just say Di-Gata Defenders is a treat uh, from a different time that we didn't get to enjoy animated. Well, we got Reboot and
Yeah,
Beast
yeah.
Wars and yeah, so we got different stuff.
Also,
But
another
I
thing. Well, I'll talk about this afterward.
okay.
Cal, you just caught a random episode of Di-Gata Defenders. Tuning in next week.
We here's the thing.
It's always a great, always a great way to start things off.
Here's the thing. It gives me like Airbender vibes. Gives me like a little kind of Pokemon vibes. It gives me it has all of the recipe ingredients for a good cartoon, but those ingredients are from animated TV shows that I would rather go and watch myself. Like if I wanted to watch people fighting Pokemon, I would go and like watch Pokemon. If I wanted to watch kind of like ancient kind of like magical like fights, I would go and watch Avatar.
Right.
Um and you can tell it's on riding the coattails of those. And I'm the thing is, a lot of it seems intriguing. Like you and I really liked like reviewing it, and like the bad guy's the good guy, and impalement happening on it. But
Dark Viper.
Dark Viper, like there's a lot to the aim for his shoulder for massive damage. That's his weak spot. Like there's a lot of fun in it, but I don't think I would tune in next week if I randomly caught it, because there's just not something that's really making me go, "Oh yeah, what is this show?"
Right.
Right?
Um.
So no, it what I'm not saying that it's bad. What we watched is bad. I just it's missing something, some special sauce, and I can't tune in next week, unfortunately.
To use a pro wrestling term, which GameSpriteMode will appreciate because I know they like pro wrestling. This show just doesn't have the it factor to be a main eventer.
The Ed Factor, that's the speech. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
it's
yeah.
not a
No.
main event contender, huh?
No. Yeah. I unfortunately I wouldn't tune in next week either, just because I found this show quite forgettable.
Well, you watched it twice, and you were like, "What do you mean someone got stabbed?" And I was like,
Right.
"What are you talking about, man? The good guy got stabbed, remember?" And
uh,
then because it's been a week since I watched it, I was like, "Oh shit, am I not remembering?" Oh
eh,
no, yeah, he did.
I had a hard time like maintaining my attention, keeping my attention on it, even while I was watching it both times.
One of the things that I will criticize it on, that I'm sure is fine when you've been watching it from the beginning, is the A, B, and C plots going on. I don't like, why are they fighting an anteater man? Like why are they Pokemon battling an anteater man in the woods? That part's cool, but I don't like it, I don't know what's going on or why I should care, right?
Also,
So
who are these two?
and yeah, who are those two? And why aren't we following these much better looking, less annoying characters than
And I feel like there could be a kind of a knee-jerk reaction to like when we have criticisms like this about a show to be like, well, it's just because like you haven't watched like been watching along. But it's like we can watch like a random episode of Manimal and be like, who is Knight? Who is this guy dressed as a knight? Oh well, that's funny.
and that's the thing, right? It's like, oh well, you haven't watched since the beginning, and that's the point of
Yeah,
the podcast.
like they're
There's lots of shit we watched, like episode like 115 of, where we're like, oh, this is rad.
and are still able to just like actually like jump in and kind of figure things out as we're watching along.
And there's something to be said, like maybe the more episodic a TV show is,
I don't know though because we what was it 12 Monkeys, the 12 Monkeys TV show. Neither we were like deep in that series, and that series is hyper serialized, and we still managed to like piece pretty much everything together.
that's true, and that was super serialized.
Yeah.
That's a good point. We were like, oh, okay, so oh, they captured her because
Oh, and
yeah.
there's two timelines going on, and we're like viewing these like following these characters like on two different timelines.
And to back up our our criticisms in that, this is a cartoon for kids who arguably have a shorter attention span.
Yeah,
You need to grab them with each episode.
yeah,
And that's why we do the our rating. Would you tune in next week? And you want to get kids watching, and you want to sell toys or cards or whatever it is you're selling.
right.
And this one's not selling me on it. And if your argument is, oh, well, you need to watch it from the beginning to appreciate it. Um, then that's not really a kids show, right? Like a kid needs to be able to tune in into episode 32 and go, "Holy cow." Like tell me that's not the case with Pokemon. You show like an 8-year-old any episode of Pokemon and they've never seen or heard of Pokemon before, they are in. They're like,
Right.
"Holy shit, this is my favorite show." Reboot,
Beast Wars.
Beast War. What? Yes, with Beast, with maybe with Beast Wars, depending on if you got drumming Predacons and you're going on a maximal hunt. There's some notoriously terrible,
There are some bad episodes of that show, yes.
but the action
There's some
and the
bad
3D
episodes of there's
graphics.
some bad episodes of literally every show though, to be fair, including Reboot.
But kids also have a this is we're aware that we're fucking adults, and well, we should be that we're adults in our fucking 30s. There we go.
Yeah, not
That's what
even
I'm
young
trying to say.
adults at this point.
And what grabs a kid is not the same as what grabs an adult.
Right.
So what we're saying is get on Manimals level. And if you have a Di-Gata Defender toys, anyone listening to this, I'm guessing they're the dice. I'm going in.
I I think it would be cool, and this is actually okay. So I think it would be cool if like the dice themselves actually transformed into the creatures. Uh,
Right?
that is a product that exists now, and I'm thinking of actually like picking a couple of them up. But there are these like they're from Hasbro. They're Dungeons and Dragons D20s that transform into certain types of creatures, like this like owl.
Serious?
Yeah, yeah, they exist. They're new, but they exist. Like a D20 that turns into this like owl type thing.
An
One
owl
that turns
bear or something?
yeah, yeah. One that turns into a beholder. And there's I think there's four of them.
Okay, so it's a game with dice, one figure, one. What am I looking at here? It comes with a little figurine, one base computer de points, five five dice and five cards. I'm trying to figure out how to play this game here, folks. Okay, so there are cards. Yeah, I was right on all fronts. It's dice, it's toys, and it's cards. And there's like a stage that you like open up and like play on like a board, or am I
Oh,
wrong? I guess you
like a
don't
play set.
need. I guess you don't necessarily need the play set.
Yeah, it's just like with D&D, like there are elaborate like game boards and like that you can buy like if you're that invested, but you don't actually need them to play the game.
You don't need the miniatures. You don't have to actually put 8 orc miniatures on the table and play play with
Right.
them. But yeah, it comes with. It looks like the packs come with cards and a creature, and then the bigger packs come with like cards, a creature, and then like the play thingy. Uh,
Oh.
Not to insult the toys or whatever, but they kind of look like Happy Meal versions of Transformers. If um
Which are things that have existed in the past.
they they looking real cheap here, folks. Real
Dollar
like dollar
dollar
store.
store toys, yeah.
Yeah, they're not looking too hot here. But maybe there's different quality of them. No, they come with huh. Yeah, it's not looking too appealing. I kind of felt like that was the case, but
I
I don't know
mean,
what I was expecting.
to be fair, we neither of us were 8 years old in 2007, so
And that's the thing. maybe I'm being an elitist scum, because what did I just say earlier? Sell me cards, sell me toys, or sell me dice. Don't sell me all three. um, but maybe kids liked all three.
Yeah, me and my cousin Louie here, we just found out about this new word called synergy. Am I right? So
And what you do,
we take the fucking cards and we take the fucking dice and we take the fucking toys and we put them all together and we got perfect synergy right there.
perfect.
That's what we're offering you at a real low price,
Yeah, how could you go wrong?
right? Um so yeah, that was Di-Gata Defenders. And yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is because this is GameSpriteMode's
Yeah,
pick, is they were very nice enough to send me a Christmas card in the mail
and they
with
sent
their
someone else a Christmas card.
they sent you a Christmas card, which I have unopened
Excellent.
still on my desk.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, they sent us Christmas cards, and
let's see that. That looks
I will hold it up again. And
okay.
it had
So,
it's
aw,
it's GameSpriteMode's artwork, as a matter of
yeah,
fact. It's reboot fan art with Bob and Dot underneath mistletoe.
that's great. That's
Yeah,
that's amazing.
it's really cute, and there's a personalized message on the inside, which I'm not going to show on
Yeah,
camera,
it's
but
private. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and also thank you. Thanks for.
Oh, and yes, thank you. Also, inside the card was a sticker of picture of Tommy Wiseau with a Santa hat on his head saying "Oh hi Santa."
Oh, hi, Santa. Amazing. Oh man, the meme that keeps on giving.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for those cards. Thank you for Daigata Defenders. Um, and thank you for being an enjoyer of Reboot. In fact,
Thank you for being a friend.
somebody has a certain YouTube review, or rather, what is it? It's kind of uh, almost like a long form discussion on some of the mechanical aspects,
Yeah, they're like video essays on how
video essays. That's the word.
games in GameCubes in the show Reboot function.
Yeah.
I there's three videos if I remember correctly, and I believe they're called GameCube Theory. Go and check
Oh,
them out.
GameCube theory.
I'll
Yeah.
put a link to them in the description for this episode.
Yeah, and they yeah, they discuss the mechanics and the what, where, whys, and how. In One thing I like about them is, because I've checked them out, is you have to go in knowing that it is its own world. It's not
Right.
really the things have human computer names, but it's not the literal what we consider computers, right? And if you take it seriously from that context, the breakdown is really interesting.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I've gone on record before saying I don't think like a reboot of Reboot would actually work. Like a
Because the
faithful
world is
or like a
different.
faithful continuation of Reboot would actually work nowadays because like computer technology and our uh, the general population's understanding of computer technology is so dramatically different. Like you would have to completely like turn the concept on its head. And then at
Hmm.
that point it's like is it even Reboot anymore? No, probably not.
Hmm. And you're always going to go you're always going to encounter two people. The hashtag not my reboot. This is
Yeah.
garbage. Or why wasn't this just made something into something new?
Yeah.
Like it's either an unfaithful adaptation of something old that you loved that you now hate, or it's so different that you have the people that are like, why wasn't just something new made with this instead of tying it to,
Like that new Velma show, which I still
yeah,
haven't
why not
seen,
just
but
make a different show?
yeah.
I,
But by all accounts, it bears no resemblance to anything relating to Scooby Doo, and yet, so it's like, why
I think
why
you and I talked about it and like looked into it, and it's like Scooby Doo isn't even on the show.
he's not on the show? Like the characters, personalities are completely different, so it's like,
Yeah,
why
we don't
not
even
just
care about
just
like
make a new
the
show?
race or gender swaps or
Oh no, yeah, no, no,
sexuality or
I don't give a
whatever.
shit
Like go
about that.
nuts for that. Yeah. But it's like are they in college or high school? I don't know. Maybe we'll watch the when that
When
crash and burns.
when it inevitably gets canceled,
I have a
which
feeling there won't be a season two.
so do I, because it's not getting a good response from either fans or critics. So I have a feeling that show is not long
Just a
for the world.
hunch. Just a
So
journalistic hunch.
when that show gets canceled, inevitably, maybe we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
speak,
yeah.
yeah, and speaking of
Yeah.
Scooby Doo, on the next episode of the Lasercomb podcast, we're going to be doing another Patreon pick from our boy Cone Killer Confusor. And the show that he pitched to us was a little series called Scooby Doo Mysteries Incorporated, which
That's right. Yeah.
has a total of 52 episodes and ran from 2010 to 2013.
Mysteries Inc.
So I'm going to go to the random number generator. And once again, not hitting screen share because that has
Doesn't
been
work
making
anymore.
it's been making Zoom crash for whatever reason. So I'm not even going to bother now. So one random number is between 1 and 52, and here we go. Where it stops, uh, no one knows. 14. Now we know. Episode 14 is season 1 episode Mystery Solvers Club State Finals. The gang is forced to forfeit their place in the Mystery Solvers Club State Finals due
Rolls
to...
off the tongue.
Yeah, right. Mystery
Uh,
Solvers Club State Finals due to Scooby's illness. However, Scooby suddenly makes a recovery and the gang attends the convention. All the human mystery solvers are taken hostage by Lord Infernicus. While
is this
Scooby,
just an episode of Transformers?
while
Lord Infernicus.
oh, it gets better. While Scooby, Jabberjaw, Speedbuggy, Captain Caveman, and J. Wellington Muddlemore try to stop him.
What the hell are we watching? Huh. This
Mysteries
looks rad
Incorporated.
though. Mysteries Inc. Was this is the one with the real monsters and the real goat? Like it wasn't just always like the actual villain is humanity. Like I think there were like real zombies and real like
Yeah,
monsters
that was
on
the
the show,
thing with
right?
the OG Scooby Doo. From what I've heard, I don't know. I've never
Yeah.
really watched Scooby Doo. I was never a fan.
The real
Um,
monster
but
is the man.
it was always a prank, like someone like getting up to someone with like a sheet over them or something like that.
Or an elaborate like scheme or a mask or making sounds or images with like mirror tricks
Right.
and they always had some capitalist like agenda, right? Like they're trying to scare people buyers from it because like
Because
there's
they
like a
want to like
company
tear down the house and like build like a parking lot there
and
or
build a
something like that.
parking lot or something and it belonged to their great grandfather or whatever.
Right.
I like the deep dive that says Scooby Doo is about a whole bunch of draft dodging teens and during Vietnam War. Um, and the enemy is always like the man and capitalism because humans and like capitalism and like power is more scary, and corruption is scarier than any like real like make believe like thing. And I'm like, I like that. I'm gonna take that as my head canon. Well, until like real demons and monsters and shit show up, then.
Which maybe they will next week. And on that note, that has been episode 57 of the Lasercomb podcast. If you want to support the show and pick an episode of a random of a TV show for us to review a random episode of, much like GameSpriteMode did, go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. We're at the single $5 Gary tier. You get to do that, and also get hours upon hours of archival content like preamble audio, commentary tracks, news segments, and our brand new Patreon exclusive podcast, the Super Lasercomb Patreon Super Show. So if you want to get in on that, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Follow me on Twitter. I am at lasercomb, spelled the same way. Cal, you are at?
I am at NeoKal, NEO_KAL on Twitter and the TikToks.
As I mentioned, we will be back next week with the aforementioned episode of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. And until then, I've been The Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm your other host, NeoKal.
Thanks for listening. We will Di-Gata defender, honey. You next week. Speaking of rolling off the tongue.
Rolls right off the tongue every time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
In a gala feet, honey, don't you know that I'm loving you? In a gala feet, baby, don't you know that I'll always be true? Oh, won't you come with me and take my hand? Oh, won't you come with me and walk this line? Please take my hand. Let me tell you that. In a gala vita, honey, don't you know that I'm loving you? In a gala vita, baby, don't you know that I'll always be true? Oh, won't you come with me and take my hand? Oh, won't you come with me and walk this line? Please take my hand. It's all right.